Hi everyone, welcome to this video of Dawn of Man. It's a new game out on Steam. It's by Madruga Works, and it's about taking your tribe all the way through to the Iron Age. It's a bit like a Civ type game. Get to build things, keep your villages safe, and do some research along the way. So not a bad little game, worthwhile going checking it out on Steam. So in these videos I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough. We're going to try and build up our tribe. I've already played the game a little bit, so you can see some of these settings I've already got continue, but I will start a new game. What I'll do first is I'll give a bit of walk around of what you can expect to see. So first thing, down the bottom here, you need to keep a look on this achievements. This tells you what you've done. So as you can see, I've done a few of them already. So the deer hunter, hunt 100 deer in one game, will open up an achievement, and those are really important when you get through the game. Right, so let's start a new game. Over here you get multiple options: free play, challenges, and community. These are some of the milestones inside the individual game that I've done, and as you can see I've got a number of them. I've got enough to open up the next level. I haven't done enough to open up the Ancient Warriors level. Same for challenges. You can see here that I've got one accessible, but I don't have the other ones open because they're dependent on each other. And then the community is where you can download scenarios from the Steam workshop. So let's jump into Continental Dawn and see what it's got to offer. So first thing you get to do is to choose where you want to play. I've played up here a couple of times, so I'm going to try and play, I think, down here. Seems quite a lot of landmass, not too hilly, so the hills do pose a little bit of a challenge sometimes, although it's got a great bit of water over here. So I'm going to choose Twisty River as my starting point. I'm not going to change my settlement name, but you can freeform that. And so basically the idea here is that we are building up our little village and surviving in this map. Okay, so let's get into the game. Let's start it and give you a view of what you can expect to see. Okay, so let me pause this quickly. So what you get is we've started off, we've got 7 villagers with a capacity of 6. So first, straight off the bat, we've not got enough housing for our people. So when it gets cold, one person will probably die. So we need to fix that straight away. We've started out with a crafting tent. I think that happens in all of them, or has every game I've started. And we've got somewhere where our sticks are being collected. We've got a river running through here, which is pretty cool. Up here on the top left-hand side by default, you get to see what you've got in your storage. Click on these icons here and you can choose more categories. So I like to put on the food chart. You want to stay above this white line, otherwise your people go hungry. And on this side here, I like to put on my defenses. This allows me to call my people back to the main camp if there is an emergency, if we're being raided, if bears or things like that are coming after us. Okay, so those are the fundamentals of your navigation at the top. Next thing to talk about is knowledge. So knowledge is how you do research in this game. So you can click on the item here and it tells you the knowledge tree, so your research tree in essence. As you progress forward, you go through the different ages and you're aiming to get all the way up to Iron Age. I like to start off with getting my fishing and my hunting tools so that actually I can take on animals. You don't need to do all of these. You can jump straight to pottery once you've got enough skill points up to 15. You get skill points by completing events. You can see those events in your manager and in your knowledge progress. So here I will get 3 knowledge points for getting up to 10 people, 2 knowledge points when I kill 1 raider, and domesticated animals, 10 of them, and that will include dogs later on when you get through it. As you hunt animals, you can see your progression here. So kill 1 bear, you get 2 knowledge as an example. Build 5 tents and you'll get yourself some experience, you'll get some knowledge, and you can basically see what you've got all the way through your chain here. So these are what you're aiming to do to get your knowledge up. The weather is important because it depends on the gear the people are wearing. At the beginning there's only 2 types. There's basically cold weather and warm weather gear. They're not very fashionable. And these guys here are wearing the warm gear, so 2 stars on warm, but style has only got 1 star. As you progress forward, you'll be able to make woolen and linen clothing. And then the seasons. Seasons are important because you can only harvest certain things at certain times of year. Also, when it gets to winter, it'll start to snow. And again, if you haven't got warm gear, you haven't got somewhere to stay, your people probably will die. If you click on the population button, you can see who you've got. So I've got 7 people, of which 2 are children, 4 are adults, and 1 is an old man. The children can collect items, but they can't hunt or do anything that is dangerous, and the older people will slowly die off. So keep an eye on this. You want to keep this balanced number in the middle as high as possible to make your workforce as functional. Your prestige, at the moment I've got a prestige of 11. This will allow people to join our town and also traders to come into it. You build up prestige by having a better town, more functions, doing more things, and by having more religious artifacts around your town. So that's the basics of what you see up here. Let's look at the command bar. So we've got the build function. Build allows you to place down residencies, and as you can see here, start with a tent, hut, stables, and roundhouse. You get storage, so that's your storage tent, and people will store food in their tents. As you can see here, they've got some storage. Stuff does deteriorate in there, so you want to build storage to keep your food lasting longer. But also it means the stuff people have in their tents is more relevant to them. Wood pile is what we've got here, and that's what allows you to store sticks and logs. You can tell individual piles what they're going to store. So this could be just a stick store. You could build another one that's just a log store. That's kind of important when you start to get big volumes of items. Next thing you get in storage is the rock pile. Same thing, does rocks, ores, flints, and stones. Haystacks will become more relevant later on once you've managed to plant some grains down. The grains will give you straw, and the straw will allow you to turn your properties into thatch roof properties. Storage hut is the next one up. It's basically the store but with a thatching on it. Then you get into granary. That'll be specifically for food and makes the food last longer. And then warehouse, which is obviously as you get into the sort of later stages of the game. Then you get production. Production is basically the fire, so make bread, people to socialize, gives people more worth to be there. The crafter, which is this thing here, and this allows you to build items. And skins drying, or dryer, sorry. That is what you'll need to dry the skins once you've hunted the animals. The food dryer allows you to hang the meat and the fish to get the food ready and will make the food last longer. The mortar will let you make flour from the grains you produce. The tanner is somebody who will help you make leather, so you collect that from the trees, and then the skins you get will make leather, and that is important when you're looking at doing things like sledges. Sledges are what we'll use for transport later on. People will come and get water from the rivers, but you can build a well so that somebody doesn't have to keep going over here to get a drink. Mining, so you can collect things on the floor just generally by clicking on the mining once we've got the tools. But once you've got the mining update, you can then harvest these circular nodes, and that will give you greater resources. So that's important later on in the game. We've got weaving, so that'll allow you to produce your linen and your cotton to produce your clothing. The outfitter will let you build the next level of clothing, so you can build the leather items at the crafting station, but you'll need the outfitter for the next step. The workshop will allow you to build next level tools. And I haven't made it this far yet, so the brewery, I'm guessing, will give you some socialization points. Watermill will give you some power to your town. And then the oven, at the moment you can bake some bread here. I'm guessing you'll be able to do better level bread here. Spiritual, this is important for your people. I've made the mistake in previous games that I've played that I haven't placed this down too early, and it doesn't take much resources. And your people start to get unhappy, and I'll show you that in a minute. But you can do totem poles, menhir, dolmen, and stone circle. These items here, as you can see, require additional items. So later on we'll be able to research, and we'll be looking for some big rocks that people would transport, a bit like Stonehenge style. There we go, here's one. So you would dig this up, and then your people would put some logs under it, and they would carry it back to camp, and they would then be able to build up these sort of monuments, and that will give you the prestige we talked about, which gives people reputation, but it will also make people very happy, and they'll be able to go and pray at it. We can't do the planting yet, and I can't click on it, but that will be what we'll do our farmland once we've researched it. The most interesting or best tab down the bottom for me is this Primal Vision. So when we click on this, this highlights all of the resources, whether that be animal, fish, water, streams, or nodes. Really important. So with the animals, worthwhile noting, some are green, these are easy to kill, and then as they get harder they turn into red. You don't want to try and take on, as an example, this mammoth if you're on your own, but if you've got a party of maybe 5 or 6, you can easily take that down when you've got your flint spears or bow and arrows. As you can see here, trees are things you can harvest, so this is actually something we can collect fruit from, and as I said, this can only be done in summer, and we are in spring, so I can't do that right now, but that would be available to me. You've got your rivers here, and on the rivers you can fish and you can get mud. You will be able to get water as well once we've got the resources for that. These are our nodes, so copper ore here as an example. See more animals. So these are your cave lions. These will attack you. So it's probably worthwhile now talking about their stats. So they get a health bar. You want to pick on the weakest animal, ideally. That tends to be the babies or an animal that's already been attacked by another animal, and you should see them with a health sign above their head, but by clicking on them you'll also see where they are. You can see how hungry they are, so if it's a cave lion as an example and they're hungry, they're probably going to come into your camp and start to try and attack you. Hydration, they will want to come to water, so if you're going to hunt things, best to sort of put your hunting circle in the water, around water spaces, and then their stamina. This is how far they can run. Your people have stamina as well, and I have seen people chase animals across the map. That's fine, except for they have to then go and get the resources back, so just be mindful of that. Okay, so let's talk about game speed. So you can speed up the game by pushing 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 speed, 2 speed, 3 goes 4 speed, and 5 goes to 8 speed. Spacebar will pause it. In the water here, we've got a little bit of a sort of a ford. So actually, our people cross this. You can see the cave lions coming across. So let's just do a very simple attack right now. I'm going to highlight everybody, knowing that my children will not attack on my behalf. You right hand click on the animal and you can see it gets this sort of attack mark over its head. So we'll do that, and I'm going to select this person. I can see what they've got. They've got a wooden spear, they've got a really rudimentary knife, and they've got some clothing. As you get better clothing, it'll give you more protection. Just like the animals, they get health, they get stamina, they get hydration. They get affected by temperature as well, which the animals don't get affected by, so keep an eye on this. As it gets colder, their stats will drop here. Stamina, that's them chasing down. How much work they've done. If you put too many work orders, which I'll talk about in a minute, they will get tired. And then their morale, as I said, they need to have something to go and prey at or to keep an eye of. So let's put this onto 1 speed. I'm going to actually focus the camera in on this person, and we can watch them go and attack this cave lion. So as you can see, I've got quite a few people, and they all went together, so therefore nobody was out on their own. Once you've killed an animal, somebody will go and skin it, and skinning will give us the resources we need for leather, food, and also bone, which we need for later research. As you can see, I got 1 knowledge point for killing the mountain lion, and I got 1 knowledge showing up top here. If you get out of the camera mode, push escape, and it will take you back to the main screen. So that's the fundamentals of how to kill and manage your people, and how to get your resources up. Let's talk about work area, sorry. So let's pause this again. So a work area allows you to tell people to perform a function without having to sort of micromanage. So in this game you'll need sticks, because you'll need those for your fishing, and even as you get later on with flints and things, you need those to create flint weapons. So you can click on gather sticks. What you're looking for, there we go, can you see those marks on the floor over here? That will tell people to go and pick up. So if we, anything in this radius will get picked up. So we place that marker down. If I click on the marker again, I can say how many people are doing it. I'm only going to ask 1 person to do it at the moment. And how many sticks am I willing to collect into my stockpile? It says 10. I'm actually going to raise that up to 20. This here can hold 10 each stack, so that would be 2 of my wood pile. Next work area that we've got is flint. Flint is needed for these weapons I've talked about. As you can see, there's a flint pile here. I don't want to go after that because I want that for later on. But these ones on the ground, if you can see those are also flint. Easy to access because you don't need to have more advanced tools, and those will just have people going picking them up. These I'm going to assign 2 people to, again 20 resources, but I need to place somewhere to put the flint because I haven't got a stone pile, if you remember. So I'm getting my rocks, and I'm going to say collect them to here. Next area we've got here is hunting. So we just saw that I went after that cave lion on my own, but we can tell an area. If an animal comes into this space, attack it. As I said, animals will kind of tend to go towards water. So you can see there's one over here. There's a whole cluster of reindeer up the top here. So I'm actually going to, I don't want it to be right on my camp, but I'm going to put it somewhere about here. And I'm going to say when an animal goes into that, I'm going to send 4 people out because I want to get a whole group of people to go all in one. I've only got 7 people, remember, of which only 4 are active. So if they are doing another work order, they're going to continue that one, even if an animal comes in here, and then they'll switch their priority over to it. As you get more people, you need to keep an eye on what you've set up. If you set too many of these items, you'll have people running across the map, getting tired, morale will drop, and they will get warnings above their house that you've got their head, sorry, saying they've got too many work orders in place. The next work area is fishing. So we've killed some animals, we've got some meat, and you can see up here we've got 3 raw meat. The next thing we need to do is fishing. So same thing, click on it, but you need to place your marker on the riverbank. This one will let me do 2 at a time only. So I'm going to select right here. In the river, you can see, as I said before, you've got fish and mud. There is an amount. Once that has been fished out, you can't collect any more fish. and you will need to wait for them to replenish. So I'm actually going to place 2 work areas for fishes. That's those 2, and I'm going to select these 2 over here. I'm only going to have 1 person fishing at a time, however, because you tend to run out the resources quite quickly if you've got more than 1. And they're telling them to collect 10 fish. That's absolutely fine for me, because I'm going to try and supplement this with meat from animals. The next area we've got is harvesting wild plants. So we've got some over here. As it gets into the correct season, people go and collect these food types. These won't last very long because you can't dry them or protect them, but they are good for a short-term bonus. So we've got quite a few little plants over here. So I'm going to actually make sure this circle is getting as many as possible, and I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to have 1 person on that one, and it looks like I can get some grain from somewhere. I've got what's this? I've got some peas over here, blueberries, raspberries, and this will be service tree. Not actually sure what service tree is, to be honest. Okay, so next work area we've got is collecting stone. Let's do one of those over here, because I'm going to want to get these stone piles out of here eventually. But I'm not so interested in this at the moment. It'll be more valuable later on. And we'll go up just 1 person and collecting 10. So those are my work areas placed down. There are work areas for cutting down trees, which you can do when you've researched it more. Collecting water. Until we get to pottery, everybody's going to have to trip to the water bank, or the river bank, sorry, to get their water. Tanning you will get from the trees, so that, as I say, that'll be used for leather. Mud, which will come from the rivers as well, will be used for making these into next level items, so you can upgrade these once they're in place. And then the mining, as I said, that'll do these sort of things and allow us to get better resources. So that's the fundamentals of the game. I'm going to end this video here, and then in the next video we're actually going to start to build up our village. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave some comments and tell me what you'd like to see in this and future videos. Thanks a lot, guys.